You know,
Mhm.
there's a very specific and I think really frustrating paradox that so many of our listeners are going to relate to.
Oh, yeah.
It's what I call the I did the work paradox.
Yeah.
You spend, I don't know, months, maybe even years
Yeah.
on this big self-love journey.
Right. You're journaling, you're in therapy.
You're journaling till your hand cramps. You're buying your own flowers. You take yourself on solo dates. You basically become your own soulmate. You feel great,
Yeah.
secure, whole.
It's the peak of the mountain. You've done the hard part. You've genuinely learned to enjoy your own company.
Right. But then you decide, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to share this amazing life with someone else. You get on the apps. You go on a date with a perfectly nice, stable human being. And instead of excitement, you feel nothing.
Or worse, the ick.
Or even worse, you get the ick. It feels like the better you get at being alone, the worse you get at being with someone else.
It's the I healed too much syndrome.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very real phenomenon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a quote from our source material today that just sums this up perfectly. It says, I healed a little too much, and now the lover girl in me is dead.
Oof. That hits.
It hits hard. So today we are doing a deep dive into the framework of Tam Kaur, specifically her guide on how to date once you realize you don't need a man. And look, if you've ever felt like your independence has accidentally sabotaged your romantic life, or if dating just feels boring now, this is for you.
It's a fascinating topic because it really tackles this very modern psychological shift. You have a whole generation of people who have successfully decentered romantic relationships. They don't need a partner for survival or money or status.
Right.
But the side effect is that when they try to get back out there, the old rules, the chase, the validation seeking, the anxiety, they just don't work anymore. Tam Kaur calls this phase the rebirth.
The rebirth. It
That's-
sounds a little spiritual, but she means it in a very literal psychological sense, doesn't she?
She does. The core idea here is that you're not just, returning to dating after a break. You are entering the market as a fundamentally different person,
A new you.
a completely new you. Your neural pathways for reward and validation have literally changed. So if you try to date the way you did before you did all the work,
Back when you were maybe a bit insecure or looking for approval.
exactly, it's going to feel impossible. It's like trying to run brand new high-powered software on an operating system from 1995. It's going to crash.
Okay, so let's debug the software. Because the first glitch everyone complains about, and I mean everyone, is the boredom. You go out with a stable person. They're polite, they ask questions, they text back on time, and you are just bored out of your mind.
No spark. Next.
Right. But our source suggests we might be completely misdiagnosing what that boredom actually is.
This is where we have to get a little bit into the biology of it, the dopamine system.
Mm.
Kaur argues that your reward system has physically adapted. In your, let's call it your past life, you probably got these huge dopamine hits from uncertainty.
The classic, does he like me, does he not game?
Precisely. In neuroscience, they call it a prediction error. When you don't know what's coming, will he text back? Won't he? And then you get a little reward, like a text. Your brain releases this massive spike of dopamine.
So it's like a slot machine.
It is the exact same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. The uncertainty is the drug. You're not addicted to the person, you're addicted to the chemical rush of the chase.
So we mistake that anxiety, that dopamine spike, for chemistry. We think, oh, I'm so nervous, I must really like him.
We do. But here's the big shift. If you have spent 2 years validating yourself, if you truly know you are worthy and interesting, you don't get a dopamine spike when a stranger tells you those things.
You've stabilized your own supply.
You've stabilized your own supply. You know you're great, so him saying it is just, well, it's a fact. It's not a hit.
That makes so much sense. That's like offering a glass of water to someone who isn't thirsty. It's nice, but it's not going to save their life.
That's a great analogy. So when you sit across from a stable person who isn't playing games, there is no uncertainty. There's no prediction error. So your brain registers that lack of chemical chaos as boredom.
Okay.
But Kaur is adamant that we need to reframe this immediately. Boredom, in this context, usually means safety. It means stability. It means you're not in a fight or flight response.
But I have to play devil's advocate here. I mean, surely there's a difference between healthy safety and genuinely having zero in common with someone. We shouldn't just date people we find dull because it's healthy.
No, absolutely not. And that's a crucial distinction. She isn't saying settle for a bore. She's saying check your nervous system.
Oh.
If you are feeling those intense fireworks, that anxiety, that obsession in the first week, that's often a red flag.
A red flag. We're taught that's the goal.
I know. But it's often your nervous system reacting to love bombing or a trauma bond. It feels familiar because it mimics chaos you might be used to. Real connection, she argues, burns slowly.
It's that old saying, if it feels like butterflies, it might just be panic.
A lot of the time, yes. And the source makes a really bold claim here that I think people need to hear. The honeymoon period is largely a myth we've been sold.
Whoa, okay.
She argues that the first 3 months are actually the most unstable, performative time. You're auditioning, you're masking, you're sussing each other out. The best part of a relationship isn't the beginning. It's the deep familiarity that comes years later.
That is such a hard sell when we've all been raised on rom-coms where the movie ends the second they get together. We want the montage, not the marriage.
We want the rain-soaked confession, not the Tuesday night grocery run. And that conditioning, that's actually the next major hurdle she identifies. Even if we accept boring is safe, our brains are often wired to spot red flags so aggressively that we can't see the green ones.
We become detectives looking for the crime.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the yellow car theory. I actually tried this little mental experiment after reading the notes, and it's kind of freaky how well it works.
It's a classic demonstration of the reticular activating system, or RAS.
Okay, break that down for us. What is the RAS, and why is it ruining my dates?
So think of the RAS as the bouncer for your brain. Your brain is bombarded with millions of bits of data every single second.
Wow.
Sounds, lights, smells, feelings. You can't process it all or you'd go insane. So the RAS decides what gets through to your conscious awareness based on what you tell it is important.
So the analogy in the source is, if I tell you, count all the yellow cars on this drive, suddenly you see yellow cars everywhere.
Right. They were always there. You didn't magically create them. But now your RAS has flagged yellow car as important. Now, apply this to dating. If you have spent the last 2 years scrolling TikToks about narcissists, listening to Men Are Trash podcasts, and reading about celebrity cheating scandals...
And Men Are Trash is the yellow car.
Precisely. You have programmed your RAS to filter for betrayal, incompetence, and disappointment. You will walk into a room, and your brain will literally spotlight the one person who reinforces that bias while completely ignoring the 5 decent people next to them.
That is terrifying. It's like we're algorithmically curating our own bad reality. So how do we stop seeing the yellow cars? Because the actual social media algorithms are feeding us this stuff constantly.
You have to actively retrain your internal algorithm. You have to treat your brain like a machine that needs new code. The source suggests a strict diet for your mind. You need to normalize functional love.
So less story time. My ex ruined my life and more. What? Where do we find this healthy content?
She specifically recommends reading Bell Hooks' All About Love is a big one, also attached by Dr. Amir Levine so you can understand attachment styles. And just listening to podcasts where healthy couples talk.
Just listening to people not fight. That sounds, well, boring again.
It might seem that way at first, but you need to hear what healthy conflict resolution sounds like. You need to hear what support sounds like. You have to convince your RAS that healthy love is a category worth looking for.
It's seeing the green cars instead.
Exactly. If you only consume disaster stories, you'll enter every date waiting for the disaster. You'll be sitting there thinking, okay, when does the mask drop? You have to believe that the person across from you could be decent.
Which, speaking of getting smarter, let's talk about the list. Because I feel like the list gets a bad rap. People think it's superficial.
Totally. Must be tall, dark, and handsome.
Right. But Tam Kaur's approach is really specific. It's not just a wish list, is it?
No, it's a standard of operations. She talks about creating a standards list broken into 3 very distinct categories. Yes, you can have the superficial stuff, height, style, whatever. We're human.
Attraction matters.
It does. But you also need a category for values and interests, and most importantly, a category for how do they treat me?
That last one feels like the one people always forget. We focus on who are they, not how do they make me feel.
Correct. So this includes stuff like how do they handle conflict? Do they shut down or communicate? How do they behave when they're frustrated with a waiter?
The waiter test. Class.
And the source shares a really specific personal story here that just proves why this matters so much. Tam wrote a 4-page list in 2021. 4 pages.
Wow.
And she put something really specific on it. She wanted someone in the creative field, and she wanted someone who loved museums.
Museums. That's so random, but also specific.
So specific, and yet she meets her partner, who she calls Boy. No mutual friends, lived in different cities. Statistically, they should not have met. But their very first conversation...
Don't tell me.
Museums.
No way. But wait, he wasn't in the creative field at the time, was he?
He was not. He had a corporate job, But, and this is the power of the list, he had the values of someone in that field. A year later, he quit his job and entered the creative field. He essentially grew into the list.
That is wild. It's like she manifested the potential.
Mm.
But here is the part of the story that really got me. It wasn't just right list, meet boy. There was a test, a big one.
There is always a test. The universe checks your math. Before she met Boy, she met another guy. And this guy was a 90% match.
Oh, the 90% match is so dangerous. They're cute, they're funny, they have a good job.
Yeah.
But maybe they're emotionally unavailable or they don't want the same future.
Exactly. He was great, said the right things, but he missed a few crucial standards on how he treated her. And the old Tam, the one before the self-love journey, would have settled. She would have said, 90% is an A-. I can fix the other 10%.
We have all been there. The I can change him delusion. He's perfect, except for this one giant red flag that I will pretend is a small pink flag.
But because she was in this rebirth mindset, she said no. She realized she loved herself too much to bargain with her own happiness. She cut him off. And literally 1 week later, Boy, the 100% match showed up.
That's the part that keeps me up at night. If she had taken the 90% guy, she would have been off the market when Mr. 100% walked in.
It's the abundance mindset versus scarcity. If you believe good partners are rare, the 90% guy looks like a miracle. If you believe love is available, the 90% guy looks like a distraction. It takes so much courage to walk away from almost good enough.
I want to pivot to a term we used earlier, hyper-independence. Because I feel like this is a trap a lot of us fall into, especially women who've worked hard to build our own lives. We wear independence like armor.
I don't need anyone. I pay my own bills.
Exactly. Which is empowering, of course. But Kaur warns that hyper-independence is often not a flex. It's a trauma response.
How so? That feels a little counterintuitive. Isn't being independent the goal?
Healthy independence is, I can do this myself, but I'm happy to let you help because I trust you. Hyper-independence is, I must do this myself because I'm terrified of owing you anything. It's a defense mechanism against vulnerability.
It's saying, I will not give you the chance to let me down.
Oof. Yeah. It's pushing people away before they even get close. It's safe, but it is lonely.
Right. If your mindset is, I don't need anyone, you aren't actually healed, you're just barricaded. True healing is admitting, I can survive on my own. I know that for a fact, but I want connection.
It's being vulnerable enough to let someone else buy you flowers sometimes.
Even though you can afford the whole florist shop. And there's a nuance here she brings up that I love. Self-love is not a bridge.
Explain that.
A lot of people treat self-love as a means to an end. Okay, I fixed myself, I got the partner, mission accomplished. Like it's a bridge you cross to get to relationship land.
And then you burn the bridge behind you.
Yes, but she says, no. You have to keep dating yourself, even when you're married. Especially when you're married. It means you keep your hobbies, your solo trips, your journaling, because a partner is an addition to your happiness, not the source.
If you stop doing the work, you start making them responsible for your emotional regulation.
And that crushes the relationship. It's too much weight for one person to carry. The relationship with yourself is the foundation. If the foundation cracks, the whole house falls.
Okay, so we've rewired our dopamine. We've retrained our brain to see the good cars. We've made our list. How do we actually act on the date? This brings us to the final major shift. Auditioning versus observing.
This is probably the most practical application of all of it. In the old dynamic, before the self-love journey, dating was an audition. You walk in thinking, do I look good? Did I say the right thing? Does he like me? You're performing for approval.
Oh, I have definitely spent entire dates just mentally editing my personality, just shrinking myself to fit whatever shape I thought the guy wanted.
We all have. But the rebirth shifts you into observation mode. You are no longer the actor auditioning, you are the casting director.
I love that framing. You're sitting behind the table, not standing on the stage.
Exactly. The internal monologue changes completely. It goes from, am I enough? To, is this person enough for me? You're asking. Do I feel relaxed around this person? Do they respect my boundaries? Do I actually like them?
It reclaims all the power. You're not waiting to be chosen. You are actively choosing.
And notice how this connects back to the boredom point. If you are auditioning, you need feedback, you need applause. If you don't get it, you panic. But if you're observing, you can just sit back and assess. If it's boring, you can just objectively say, not a match, without it being a reflection on you.
It takes all the desperation out of the equation.
Completely. And here's the kicker. Predators and emotionally unavailable people, they can smell desperation. They look for auditioners because those people are easy to manipulate. When you're in observation mode, You naturally repel those people.
Because you're not giving them the reaction they feed on.
Right. If someone tries to love bomb you or play a mind game and you're just sitting there observing calmly, it doesn't work. You become a bad target. Kaur says that once your energy changes, you physically stop attracting low-value experiences. It's not magic, you just stop entertaining them.
You filter them out at the yellow car stage.
Exactly. You delete the text, you don't go on the second date.
So let's wrap this up, because we've covered a lot of ground. The rebirth isn't just about getting back on the apps. It's about accepting that dating is going to feel different because you are different.
It might feel boring at first, and that is okay. That's your nervous system adjusting to safety. It takes time to get used to peace if you're used to war.
We need to actively rewire our brains to see the healthy examples of love, not just the drama. We need to stick to the 100% list and say no to the 90% distraction.
And we need to stop auditioning and start observing. And maybe most importantly, remember that self-love isn't a destination you leave behind. It is a lifelong practice.
It's funny, when you lay it all out like this, it makes that initial ick feeling make so much sense. It's just growing pains.
It is. You're growing into a version of yourself that doesn't need external validation to survive. That is a massive evolutionary step. It's uncomfortable because it's new, not because it's wrong.
So if you're out there feeling like you're too healed to date, congratulations.
Yes, essentially, you're exactly where you need to be.
But before we go, I want to leave the listener with one last thought from the source material that I found really, really profound. We've talked a lot about finding a partner, but what does this all mean for the long term?
I think the most provocative takeaway from this whole philosophy is this. We often look for a partner to make us feel understood. We say, I just want someone who gets me.
Yeah.
But if you really think about it, you are the only person who has heard every single thought in your head. You're the only person who has felt every emotion you have ever had.
Right. No one else has that data. It's physically impossible for anyone else to know you that well.
Exactly. So really, you are the only person who can truly understand you. So why would you ever abandon that relationship? The only one that can offer 100% understanding just because someone else enters the room.
It completely redefines the role of a partner.
It does. Perhaps the ultimate success in dating isn't actually finding a partner, but realizing that no partner can ever replace the work you do on yourself. The partner is just a witness to your life, not the narrator.
The partner is the witness, not the narrator. I love that. Keep writing your own story, everyone. We'll see you in the next deep dive.